as a parent of a child with special needs, your biggest fear is that someone will harm him or abuse him or take advantage of him, and you never imagine that that's going to happen at school.
Now today what we're going to be discussing is our special needs children and also our children with learning disabilities and some of the horrific abuse that is going on right in our public school systems today. It is so unbelievable at how many cases have surfaced, but what's even more tragic than that is the fact that there are so many others that will never be discovered, for the fact that many of the special needs children do not have that verbal capability of telling exactly, literally what's going on with them. So I firmly believe in order to put a stop to what has become epidemic within the special needs community, there definitely has to be something put in place in order to protect our children. So we're going to go ahead and show you the footage, give you the behind the scenes, and expose some of the things that are really going on, even with the fact that some schools are actually covering up their tracks so that it does not become exposed. And then afterwards, after we review the footage, we'll discuss those things that we can definitely put in place to help protect our children, and also some advice for the parents as well.
This is the video Angel Nelson saw of her 9-year-old son, Alan, dragged down a hallway by his teacher.
I was in shock and I was very traumatized. For this to happen in front of all of his classmates.
The family's attorney subpoenaed the video after being told what happened. Nelson says Alan, who has autism, suffered a sprained wrist in the incident last October. The teacher is expected to be charged with 4th-degree assault tomorrow morning, as the family now tries to heal, hoping no other parent has to see something like this.
I am stunned. This autistic boy has his head stuck instead of helping him. Principals and teachers make fun of him, even threatening to taser him. First of all, joining me right now is the mother of the 10-year-old little boy. She's going by Ann. Ann, your child is autistic. How did he respond to this? I would be scared silly if someone threatened to taser me and I was stuck like that.
He was terrified. Kids with Asperger's feel very, very intense feelings that are extremely true to him, and on the full video, you can hear him say that he doesn't want to die. He thought he was going to die.
Her mother knew something was terribly wrong, but couldn't figure it out. Yeah! Then one day, she got a call about the bus. Last May, a transportation official called to say there'd been a problem that morning.
Oh, Maria was involved in an incident this morning where her hair was pulled by another student, but the driver did a great job.
Her mom says she pushed the district for weeks to view this school bus security tape. They finally let her come in to watch, and this is a shortened version of what she saw. That's Marie in the pink jacket getting on the bus. For 12 minutes, the ride's pretty calm, until the child sitting behind Marie, who's blurred out, starts to hit Marie's seat and touch her hair. This goes on for about 3 minutes, and then things escalate. The child starts pulling Marie's hair, pushing her head, and then the slapping starts over and over and over again. You can see from the other angle, Marie is distraught, covering her ears and yelling. And you can hear the bus driver knows there's a problem.
Calm down, guys.
But that doesn't help. Marie's screams and cries get louder. The scene turns chaotic, punch after punch, Marie continuing to scream for help, as the bus driver does nothing, and another student eggs the situation on. Finally, after Marie has had her hair pulled, her head slapped, scratched, and punched dozens of times, the bus driver stops and moves the child away from Marie. And as the bus arrives at school, the driver sums up the scene to a school representative.
We had a massive issue.
Despite characterizing a massive issue, what did the bus driver do? Nothing. According to the family, no incident report, no report to the principal or district.
Now, they've betrayed the trust of the family.
Marie's mom has hired attorney Evan O'Shan to consider legal options. He says the district has downplayed the incident and kept other information from the family.
I think it's a form of lying. I think they're covering up. I think they're trying to avoid the issue, which is the autistic students and special needs students are not being given adequate supervision. They're not being treated correctly. Their rights are being disregarded.
A traumatized child who couldn't tell her family what happened.
She's not the same little girl anymore. They took a huge piece of her away.
Marie's family doesn't know if there were more assaults on the bus. There are several tapes that they still haven't been able to view. Her mom did find out that there were some assaults in the classroom as well, such as a storage bin being thrown by a student at Marie's head. They don't know if it was the same student that was on the bus or who it was, but the family says the school did not notify her of those incidents and those trips to the nurse's office afterward.
In May, she came to Wayton for something more serious. She thought it was about this bruise discovered on his head when he came home from school. Instead, she was asked what she knew about a teacher locking Caleb in a dark room alone.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing about it at all. I had never been notified.
Records show a sheriff's investigation began February 29th. It was closed April 13th. And here it was May, and LaDonna was just finding out that more than 2 months earlier, Caleb was discovered sitting in a locked, dark, empty room at Wakeman, signing for help.
I was in shock, just trying to process what had happened, why we were there, why we weren't notified.
According to the Child Protection Investigators report, Caleb's teachers denied placing him in the room. However, there were 3 witnesses to multiple incidents.
It was apparently her form of disciplining him because he squeals a lot.
What's particularly disturbing, Caleb poses a risk to himself when left unsupervised, and the school knows it. The report stated it was determined through the investigation that the child is not safe in the care of the teachers. They have a history of placing Caleb in the dark room alone with the door closed.
School bus surveillance cameras are rolling as the driver confronts an 8-year-old girl with autism, blocking the aisle with her leg.
And if you stick your feet out like that again to keep her from moving, you are going to be on the window. Got it?
Police say that bus driver is 64-year-old Kim Klopson of Vacaville. They say she was on her way to drop off students at Browns Valley Elementary. But as the special needs kids get off the bus, Klopson grabs the girl's backpack and orders her to stay seated.
Because you're misbehaving, as always.
A few minutes go by. Then a teacher's aide comes to get the girl. But the driver is now taunting her as she cries hysterically.
Because Izzy's acting like she's younger than her baby sister. Oh, Izzy's only 2. How old is Izzy?
Then Klopson closes the bus door. The aide walks away, and it gets physical.
Okay, you done? Let's go.
For almost 4 more minutes, the driver is alone with the girl, yanking her up and back down, ripping off her jacket, and eventually dragging her off the bus as the aide finally comes back to get her.
It's absolutely bone-chilling to see the way this adult woman treats this child. And what you're seeing is horrific mistreatment and abuse by an adult bus driver.
The district says it fired the driver right away, and she has pleaded not guilty to a child abuse charge. But parents here at the school say they still have questions about bus driver training and oversight.
A dad who was worried that the teachers may have been bullying his autistic son at school tried to find out the truth, so Stuart Scheifetz sent 10-year-old Ike to his New Jersey elementary school with a recorder in his pocket. What he got on tape was more than 6 hours of conversations. He says conversations that shouldn't be going on in front of kids. Well, Scheifetz says that in addition to confronting kids, the staff was talking about getting drunk and sexual encounters right in front of the grade schoolers.
I shattered when I heard what happened. The first 15 minutes of the day alone were so disgusting and disturbing. The way that they yelled at my son, the way that the inappropriate conversations. It was the unbelievable disrespect they had for those children. They treated them as if they were unfeeling machines who could, because of their disabilities, could never tell their parents about what they were doing in that class. And my heart broke, and at the same time, I realized that this could not be kept a secret.
Will is autistic. He's nonverbal, and he's being homeschooled.
Tuesday, right.
But up until a few months ago, he was a student right here at Lorne Elementary School.
Just because Will can't talk doesn't mean he can't communicate. And he communicated to us very clearly that something bad was happening at school.
Both Bill and Kim Britton tell me as soon as Will started at the school, he began suffering from anxiety and was acting out of character.
Well, most recently, he had been coming home very upset from school.
The Brittons sent dozens of emails to school leadership, made several phone calls, and requested in-person observations. They say they wanted some answers from Will's special education teacher.
During one of the observations, Will became physically upset. He started crying. He started having behaviors. I felt at that point he was telling me something was definitely wrong at school.
And the Brittons felt like they certainly had reason to worry. That's because 2 years ago, a teacher's aide at Lorne Elementary came forward with allegations that she witnessed Will's former teacher, along with her aides, abusing autistic children.
It bothered me so much that I had to speak up and say something that these kids can't speak up for themselves.
The former TA says her coworkers began treating her differently right after she came forward, and she was fired just a few months after she reported the allegations to district leadership. As a result, she's filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against Clover School District, where she alleges she was retaliated against for reporting what she saw. But court documents state that the school principal accused her of not being able to do her job correctly. It says he also accused her of saying she could be vindictive. She denied this, saying she felt she was being treated vindictively. But the documents say the school took this as a threat, and she was terminated.
Any abuse claims were thoroughly investigated.
But the Brittons felt those allegations were swept under the rug, and they wondered if something was happening to Will at school. So last year, on October 2nd, they decided to send him to class with a hidden recording device, and it captured something shocking. It begins when the class telephone rings, alerting Will's teacher that the Brittons are there to pick Will up from school. While Will is packing his bags, Bill says the teacher can be heard threatening his wife while speaking to a teacher's aide.
Okay. I know how hard and I work and how hard you work and how hard she works. This woman makes me mad. Whatever. If I find her, I will do it. I will go to her house.
It was all said in front of Will and all of these other students with the assumption that they don't understand and with the assumption that they don't have the ability to go tell somebody that this is happening.
The Brittons immediately pulled Will out of the school district and filed a complaint about the apparent threat with administrators. Superintendent Mark Sosney responded with a letter saying the incident was thoroughly investigated and assured the Brittons that the district was taking appropriate action against the correct employee in accordance with the findings. However, in response to my Freedom of Information Act request, district documents show there are no records of discipline for the teacher or the aide she was speaking to in that recording. Parents say this lack of accountability made them question everything the district had told them in the past.
I was really afraid because of past allegations of physical abuse that that's what was happening.
Did Clover School District cover up what really happened when a former teacher's aide claimed she witnessed abuse of autistic children at Lorne Elementary School? Bill and Kim Britton believe they did, and so do other parents. Kim Garhart asked that we don't show her face, but told us she pulled her autistic son out of Clover School District last year after she says he started exhibiting severe behaviors while he was attending Lorne Elementary.
That he started regressing in the bathroom. He became terrified of the dark. He also would go into the bathroom and he would say, I'm okay, it's okay. And we couldn't figure out what it was. He started saying, no school. And not only just saying it, but he started like crying, uncontrollable, hitting himself. And so we just decided it was time.
Through an open records request, I got a copy of the district's investigation into the alleged abuse the former TA had reported. Though every single name was redacted, One teacher's aide reported that she saw a student forced to sit on the toilet for 90 minutes and that she saw a different aide flip a child out of a chair. She also told administrators a child was put into a closet to finish his food, that a teacher would use a timer to give the student 20 seconds to swallow, and if he didn't finish, he would be put in the dark. Another teacher's aide reported seeing a student allowed to fall out of a chair as a natural consequence for rocking in it, and a teacher said a natural consequence is to let the child fall. The documents also say a teacher put a child in a bathroom with the lights out as a negative consequence to get him to try new foods. When that didn't work, the teacher said she would try putting the child in the toy closet, which parents didn't know about. The TA who was fired also says that same teacher had a flashlight and said to a child, quote, "Do your work or I will turn this light off." Some aides reported seeing nothing done wrong and said they had no concerns about what was going on in the classroom. In a letter sent out to parents, the district's investigation concluded there was no mistreatment of students, that what the aides witnessed were isolated snapshots of teaching methods, and that there was no malice in the methods they used. The letter says the district gave follow-up training to teachers and assistants on positive behavior strategies. Kim Garhart and the Britons tell me they were never shown the details of the district's investigation until I gave them the paperwork. And during meetings with the district, they say they were just told the allegations were coming from a rogue former employee.
We've spent years dealing with lies, deflections, misinterpretations.
Bill says because Will was in the accused teacher's class during the time these allegations came up, they believe they now know why he became deathly afraid of the dark, just like Kim Garhart's son. And the Britons believe Will was one of the students purposely tipped out of a chair, after they say he came home with a large lump on his head one day.
Will had been telling us all along something wasn't right. And we put our faith in the school.
As a parent of a child with special needs, your biggest fear is that someone will harm him or abuse him or take advantage of him, and you never imagine that that's going to happen at school.
Something has to be done. This individual or individuals do not belong in any classroom, let alone a special education classroom.
And as for the former TA, while she might be the one out of a job, she says she has no regrets whatsoever about reporting what she saw.
I'm not one to really fight back, but I told my husband, I said, I can't just let this go for the kids and for myself.
Now, the Britons and Kim Garhart tell me since they've pulled their kids out of Clover School District, their severe behaviors have come to a stop. While their kids are no longer enrolled with the district, they are now calling for cameras to be installed in special ed classrooms. But Clover School District tells me it's not going to happen. That's because they say they don't feel it's necessary.
This surveillance video shows a high school student by the name of Andre McCollins in the lower right of the screen, about to go through what his school calls skin shock therapy for misbehavior. About 60 volts of therapy. There are no national standards for the punishments or restraints used on school children, including those like Andre with severe behavioral difficulties.
I can't believe they call themselves human and do such a thing to someone who's so vulnerable.
It is an extreme example, but perfectly legal. An ABC News investigation found that only 17 states have specific laws that protect students from harsh, some say barbaric methods of restraint and other techniques.
Someday I think we're all gonna look back and we're gonna say, can you believe what we did here?
Why are there red marks all over him?
In Dallas, this video was made by the mother of a 4th grade boy with autistic characteristics. She tried to get the staff member to let go of her child.
Let him go!
In Kentucky, a mother found her autistic 8-year-old son had been stuffed into a duffel bag like this one, specially made to restrain children. And schools across the country are investing in specially built so-called seclusion rooms or screen rooms, like this one, where young students can be locked up for hours.
They'd lock you in there, and it was dark, there's no windows, you're just stuck in there for the whole day.
At the age of 11, Jordan knows all too well what can happen.
It's scary, really scary. Even for the bravest person in the world, it's still really scary.
Now, some members of Congress are trying to get such restraint and seclusion techniques prohibited or restricted by federal law.
There's thousands and thousands of children that have been traumatized, that have been injured.
But the proposed law is opposed by public school administrators as too restrictive. They say they need a range of techniques and leeway to deal with autistic students and others who are increasingly being mainstreamed into public schools.
They're emotionally disturbed, they have behavioral issues, and they tend to act out. And when they do act out, sometimes they become a danger to themselves or a danger to others.
Daniel Dominique of the School Superintendents Association agreed some of the techniques being used, including the electric shocks seen on the tape, are indeed too much.
They're horrendous. It makes me sick.
Dominique admitted some teachers do need more training, but he defended the use of some of the restraints others call barbaric, including the seclusion or scream rooms.
If the situation warrants it, in order to protect the child from hurting himself, but you know what?
But you don't think that's barbaric?
Is it? But listen, then I'm a barbarian.
But all too often, students have died after being restrained with the approved techniques. The most recent, 16-year-old Corey Foster of New York City. A surveillance tape shows the young man at a residential school for students with special needs, as he apparently refused to stop playing basketball. Teachers and staff surround him.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then, says his mother, Sheila Foster, they forced him to the ground.
And now he's down. They're pulling him down, yes.
The school says its staff used what it called a correctly performed and state-approved therapeutic hold, and only after other de-escalation techniques failed with Corey.
There was nothing therapeutic about that.
A short time later, Corey Foster was dead. The Centennial School in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania says there is an alternative to the physical, hands-on approach used in so many schools. Here, there are no seclusion rooms, and teachers almost never use any restraints, even though the students here all have a history of trouble or violence at other schools. We watched as one student, 9-year-old Vinny, started acting up in the classroom. The teachers separated him from the others, but never put a hand on Vinny.
We walked away. We reminded him to use a calm body and polite words.
And that worked.
It did work. It may take a while, but it's certainly better than putting my hands on him.
That's the philosophy that the school's director, Dr. Michael George, would like to see spread across the country. So you don't think these restraints, these seclusion rooms, you don't think they work?
I do not. I think they contribute to the problem.
How so?
They make children angrier. They make children resentful. They make children want to engage in more aggression, to get even, to get back.
And we heard just that from 6 of the Centennial students, including Jordan.
You felt scared and upset and you were already angry.
They described how they said they were dealt with at previous schools.
They cross your arms and they hold you like that.
They had this really big man that pinned me to the ground.
They would just literally just lay on top of you and you'd just be laying there, can't move. It was really hard to breathe.
Do you think that kind of thing?
No.
Makes things worse, sir.
Makes it worse?
It makes things worse.
So as you can see, there are case after case after case of abuse towards our special needs children. And one thing that I can say for absolute certain is that you cannot depend on the school system to 100% fully have the best interest of your child. When it comes down to it, when something like this happens, they will protect their school at all costs. So you have to be diligent and you also have to be vigilant on what's going on with your children within the school system. And that means putting things in place to allow them to know that you are definitely monitoring them and you are definitely 100% behind your child receiving the education that they deserve. And yes, that means being very involved in your child's school life. And yes, that may mean that you might have to be your own child's private investigator. Yes, that means you may have to be your own child's attorney. Whatever it takes to come into defense of your child, you may have to do. Making sure that you are meeting all of the teachers, making sure that you meet with the principal and the vice principal, principal and the guidance counselors, everyone involved in teaching your child. You want to meet, have a sit down with them, let them know who you are, and let them know that you are 100% highly involved in every aspect of their schooling. Because trust me, teachers do know exactly which parents are really involved and which parents are truly not. And they also know which students they can handle a certain way and which ones they cannot. So if you do show yourself to be a strong, powerful part of your child's life, you have a better chance that they will be treated fairly and they will receive the proper accommodations that they need. Now, I myself have had a child within the school system that has had a learning disability. And I definitely had to put things in place, put things in motion to make sure that his rights were protected and that he was receiving the proper accommodation to where he would be capable of succeeding and being successful in his academics. One of those things that I did put in place is the 504 plan, which protects his rights as a special needs or a child that has a learning disability. And again, it just really evens things out where he is properly accommodated and he can also succeed. So that is an important aspect of the learning challenge. Now, even with that, I do have to tell you, there were some cases that I still had to go into battle. I literally had to fight for the right for my child to get treated fairly. And what's most important in cases like that is to make sure that you know each and every last one of your teachers, know your principal, know the guidance counselors, and have sit downs on a regular basis. I mean, I literally went into meetings with the entire staff to introduce myself, to tell them about my child, and of course to get updates on what's going on with my child as well. And each time I went into the meetings, whether it be with the entire staff or whether it be one-on-one with each individual teacher, I tell you, I came in there with a notebook and I took notes and I took statements, and I can't tell you how many times that those statements and those notes really came in handy when it came down to fighting again for my child's rights. Now, if your child has endured abuse within the school system, it is going to be your responsibility in getting the help and the aid that you need. Again, do not depend on the school system for the best interest and the welfare of your child. Contact the proper authorities, contact the news if you have to have your case exposed, contact agencies, and also contact attorneys if you need to. There are many organizations and agencies in place that can aid you in your case and also aid you in seeking the justice that your child deserves. But whatever you do, be vigilant and don't give up the fight. Now, one of the things that I do believe they could put in place to ensure the safety and the protection of our children with special needs is to have an alternative school that is specific and designed for our children with learning disabilities. In this way, we would definitely have teachers and also specialized individuals that have the proper training, the proper skills mentally and also physically to be able to accommodate and to be able to teach these children accordingly and appropriately. Now, as you've seen in some of the footage, there were actually some parents that took it upon themselves to put some form of hidden camera on their child. And I believe that is definitely a safety practice and something that can be put in place for these children, especially the ones that do not have the verbal communication skills, to where they would be allowed and provided a body cam that would show exactly what goes on day to day within the school system. That is yet another way I believe that can definitely stop some of the abuse that is going on. Now, it is a very unfortunate thing that this continues to happen within our very own school system. That lets us know that there definitely has to be a change. That lets us know that there definitely has to be some protective methods in place to ensure the safety and the protection of our children. Now, I did share with you guys some of my ideas, what I would like to ask you guys to do. If you have some ideas and suggestions, also post those comments below. I would definitely like to hear from you on what your opinions are and what things you think can be put in place to stop this type of abuse. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been Maria Young. Thank you guys so much. See you guys later, and bye-bye for now. And be sure to join us for more adventures on The Young Life. Thanks for joining us. Please be sure to subscribe. Bye-bye.